Hello and welcome back to the internet. Today's question of the day is going to be a little bit different. Rather than reading stories of people telling tales of weird things that happened in their life, today's question of the day is, what are some skinny people problems? And I found this thread a little bit too relatable and funny to pass up, so a lot of this is just going to be me talking from experience. Sometimes in roller coasters, you don't feel super secure in the harness or seatbelt. With this one, I would say is not super accurate most of the time. 99% of roller coasters, everyone has their own restraint, but every once in a while there will be a coaster where you and another person are pulled down to the same restraint. And in that case, yeah, sometimes you do feel like you're shifting around in the seat, which, sometimes can make it more exciting because you feel less secure. When a cat sits on your lap and their feet slip through the gaps between your thighs, this often makes them sink their claws in to steady themselves. Yes, me and Faye have had lots of practice having her sit on my lap. She's always falling through, clawing me, stepping on my crotch. We've gotten a little bit better at it, but I still try to avoid it sometimes. Leaning your head on my shoulder probably feels like leaning on a jagged rock. Reminder for you all to consume more calcium so your skeletons don't try to escape. Yeah, my bones are kind of popping out, it's rock hard. Yeah, in the rare occasion I'm cuddling with somebody, if they lean their head right there, I'm just like, is that really comfortable for you? Bumping into anything hurts 10 times worse. Bones don't cushion at all. Surprisingly, a lot of the times when I'll bang into a counter or something, it doesn't hurt that bad, but the one thing that always hurts is my ankles. If I ever hit my ankle on something, then that's just the end. Hard to keep my pants up. I have no butt. See, the real problem with this is that it's so hard to find pants. So, okay, I am 125 pounds, I am 5'11", and usually all my pants are a 28-inch waist. And it is so hard to find 28-inch pants anywhere. Sometimes I consider looking in the kids section, but then it's just way too short. But I'll walk into Walmart, and their smallest shorts will be 34-inch waists, and I'm like, even a 30-inch falls off of me, so I guess Walmart's not so good for me. If I'm lucky, I'll find a 30-inch somewhere and I have to wear a belt with it. If you're a guy and skinny, you're not respected as much because you're small. The laws of nature still apply, and men only respect men they think they could take in a physical fight. We're all monkeys. Yeah, I guess in this case, I don't really think about this too much. I get that the model figure of a man is not just skinny, but has a lot of muscle built over it. So yeah, I look really scrawny compared to them, but I would say that looking fit is better than looking skinny is better than being fat. So I guess I'm usually in the mindset of it could be worse. The one problem that drives me nuts is that people assume that skinny equals fit. I work out and exercise and play sports a lot, but when I tell people that, they think I'm weird for working out when I'm already skinny. I don't think I've ever heard something like that. That's kind of funny that people would say why are you playing a sport? You're already thin, you've already lost weight. As if the only reason anyone would ever go outside is just to lose weight. But it is very true though that you can be skinny and not fit. Usually the only way I can tell how fit I am is by my abs. Sometimes it's a very defined 8-pack and sometimes it's just flat. I never get any heavier or lighter, I'm just get a different level of tone, I guess. Sinking in water. Fat is less dense than water, so not having any means you'll have a harder time keeping your head above the water when swimming. Yeah, I guess I've never really been able to just sit there and float, but at the same time, when you don't have very much weight to carry, it does seem a little bit easier to just keep yourself moving. I don't know, a lot of these things are going to be kind of hard for me to compare because I've only known what it's like to be smaller. People commenting on your body all the time because since you are skinny, you can't be offended. This is one that came up a lot in this thread, is that people are always very sensitive and never want to make fat jokes. They don't want to ever criticize somebody for being overweight and something like that. But it's really common for skinny people, for somebody to just say oh, you need to eat more, or man, we need to put some meat on those bones, or stuff like that. And I've gotten that pretty regularly forever, and to be honest, it's never really offended me. In some ways, it's almost just kind of confused me, because it's kind of like somebody's coming up to you and just saying, hey, why are you healthy? Look at all of us, we're unhealthy, why don't you try and be more like us? And so anytime people tell me hey, you're too skinny, and I'm just I'm pretty sure that's a good thing. I don't know why that would be a problem. It'd be like if you were talking to an alcoholic who was telling you, hey, you need to drink more. That's really the only way that I see those kind of comments. But like I said, it's such a weird double standard because you're not allowed to tell somebody, oh, you need to eat less, you weigh way too much. That's considered body shaming. But you can tell somebody, oh, you're way too small, you need to eat more. I don't know, I think that a lot of that kind of stems from sort of a victimhood culture that has just completely taken over society. Because you'll have all these very overweight people that are now claiming that they are oppressed because they're overweight. And since they feel like they're being oppressed, then of course you can't criticize anyone who's in an oppressed group. Not being able to sit on hard surfaces. I lost the padding on my butt, and now my bike seat is hell. Yeah, there have been times where I go on a super long bike ride and I get off my bike and I'm like, man, my legs are tired. But then the next day it's like my legs feel fine, but I just have a sore butt for like a week. Shaving our concave underarms. Again, I'm just like, is that just a skinny person thing? Like, yeah, I guess there is a bit of a concave. It is kind of hard to shave. But I never assumed that that was just because I was skinny. I never sit in a chair like a normal person. Always shifting from side to side because just planting there hurts. Now, if you're on a long flight, whoa mama, my lack of buns are hollering. Again, I've never associated this with being skinny, but I guess it makes sense. Like, I can never sit in one position for very long. And even in my videos, sometimes, you know, I've got my feet up like this, or even like sometimes up on the table. I guess it's nice that when you're thinner, you're more flexible, so you can sit in much different positions. But yeah, just like sitting here with my feet up against the desk is like not even uncomfortable for me at all. I can sit like this for a while. You'll be fat when you hit 20. You'll be fat when you hit 23, 30, 35, 40, 45. Still waiting. Yeah, I've heard this one too. I mean, my grandpa is like 87 and he's pretty thin. He's been pretty thin forever. And so I think I can hold out for forever, maybe. But that's the thing, it's not like it's something that's just gonna happen to you. You can prevent it. When there's high winds and walking becomes a hardcore resistance training. But when you take up less space, the wind is more likely to just pass by you and not blow you over. Cold all the time, give me a blanket please. I mean, I have made comments like this before, where I'm just like, ah man, I'm so cold, I don't have any fat to keep me warm. But then there's always people around me that are just like, don't think that having fat will mean you can't get cold, we're just as cold as you are. Again, I can't really compare. I'm 5'9", 125 pounds, and 26 inches around the waist. Finding pants and belts that fit is darn near impossible. Yeah, I already talked about the belts and the pants thing, but what really confuses me here is that he's 2 inches shorter than me, with a 2 inches less in the waist, but he weighs the same as me. I don't know, maybe my density is just lower. Nearly everyone can beat you in a fight because 9 times out of 10 they'll just pick you up and body slam you. You know, something I've always thought about is like, is there really a reason to be in bodybuilder shape? I mean, maybe you have a job where you have to lift heavy things, and that I can understand, but what purpose does being really big and bulky and muscly actually serve? Because 99% of people have no reason to ever get in a fight, or have to run for their life, or, you know, do stuff like that. I mean, I get people just do it for fun, and lots of people want to do it to stay healthy. But in cases of, like, being worried about losing fights, in this day and age, I mean, assuming you're not picking them, you're probably not going to end up in a lot of fights in your life. But then even still, skinny people can be pretty tough. A friend of mine is very skinny and small. She basically can't find any clothes she likes, because apparently women are not supposed to be that skinny and small, and if so, are bound to dress like preteens forever. You know, this comment sounds really weird to me, because I've heard the opposite complaint so many times, where people will say, oh, I'm too big, but all of the nice designs are in smaller sizes. But then the people who are too small think that they can't fit into anything. I don't know, clothing in general is just hard because there's so many different shapes and sizes, and not every company can accommodate for every type, for every design. It's basically just a bell curve. If you're much more average, you're much more likely to fit into the general population's clothing. People wanting to do this around your wrist. What do you mean, like this? I mean, I could do it my wrist, I can do it like halfway up my arm. I can even do it on my ankle. I probably can't get a good angle on the camera, but I can wrap it all the way around my leg. People asking if you are anorexic. This is probably more of a girl thing. I don't really get asked that, but I usually say that I'm accidentally anorexic, because I know this might sound weird, but I just don't really like food that much. Now obviously you kind of have to eat to be alive, but there have been a lot of times in my life where eating just feels like a chore. Like you just don't have an appetite for anything, nothing tastes that good to you, so you just eat the bare minimum to get by. And I guess that does kind of help with staying skinny. Easier to kidnap, nobody wants me to sit on their lap. Sitting on hard surfaces can be pretty painful, but on the upside, all my coworkers give me their snacks when they go on a diet. I haven't had to buy work snacks in over a year now. I like how they lead that one with easier to kidnap. Like as they're carrying you away, you're like, dang it, I should have put on those extra pounds. Now I know a lot of people probably criticize me just saying like, oh, well you just have a faster metabolism and you can get away with doing whatever you want and you'll always be skinny. And while that may be partially true, one of the best rules that I live by, like, okay, a lot of people if they see like, oh, I really want this cake, but no, I'm on a diet, I can't eat that. My rule is basically just, for however much you eat, you gotta go work that off later. So if you really can't help yourself and you have to eat all that cheesecake, then later today or tomorrow, you're gonna have to go for a long walk or a run or a hike or a bike ride, whatever you gotta do to work that off. I think my body's just really good at telling me when it's just like, all right, this is too much fat. All right, you need to stop, or you need to burn this off before you have any more. Because like, even after eating just like a regular sized candy bar, like after that, I'm just like, oh, that is way too much sugar. I don't want to eat any more of this. Like, sometimes I can't even finish a full-size candy bar. But if I go on a long hike and I come home exhausted and starving, then I can eat as many calories as my stomach can handle. But then on days where I just sit at home and I'm at my computer from morning till night, I'll only eat like maybe 1,500 calories, maybe less than that. So I say only eat as much as you're going to burn off. Because like, I've never been one to go on diets. Like, I mean, going hungry is really the only diet I ever do, but I'm pretty much never going to be eating different kinds of foods, maybe just less of it. I never obsess over like how many calories I'm eating or anything like that. It's basically just like, the more I eat, the more gross I feel, and the more I feel like I need to burn that off. And I'm also just kind of a picky eater too. There's a lot of regular foods that I just don't care for. I think the obesity rate in the US right now is like over 40%. Which is kind of insane. But when I go outside, it doesn't really surprise me. Like, I feel like I'm a small person in a big person's world. And apart from all the other things that people have talked about in this thread, one thing that I could add is just like dating. Now I know if anybody ever says like, oh, I don't want to date a fat person, then everyone's like, oh, that's so shallow, how could you be so judgmental? Like, your standards are way too high. But for me, I'm just like, I'm very skinny. And I think I would prefer that a partner be very skinny as well. Like, is that too much to ask? But then whenever I go onto dating sites, I'm like, oh, yeah, the obesity rate is pretty high, I guess. Well, there's a pretty edgy way to finish off this video. I would be very surprised if I didn't offend anyone in this video. But we can just call it there.